Hello and welcome to a new episode of B2B e-commerce integrated. My name is Arno, Chief Product Officer at Sana Commerce, and with Sana Commerce we believe that by using ERP integration, B2B companies are more successful than B2B companies that are using mainstream e-commerce solutions. Why? You do not have to replicate the data and logic around complex pricing, stock, orders, quotes, with multiple systems, and there is no need to maintain that data and logic into the various systems. And more importantly, less prone to error by making ERP and commerce work as one. This results in better relationships with your B2B buyers and more commercial success. So today I'm not interviewing somebody from the industry. Actually, I'm being interviewed today. But today we want to touch upon the most B2B e-commerce trends for 2023, or the most important trends for 2023 and beyond. So I'm having with me Emilie. Hi Emilie, and you know her from the B2B e-commerce tech talk. Maybe a short introduction from your side, Emilie.
Yes, sure. Well, welcome everyone, and happy to be here and interviewing you today, Arno, as we do in our tech talks. I'm the Director of Customer Success for Sana Commerce, and in the past 5 years, almost 6 years, I've been focusing on the success of our customers. So today, as you said, we're going to talk about the B2B e-commerce trends for 2023. But before we go into the trends, let's look back a bit over the past years. My first question is, if you look back starting in 2017, what have been the most important trends and milestones?
Yeah, no, I think that's always a great idea. Looking back is also something to explore trends, and especially you can analyze the customer data that we're having through our platform, or just the conversations that we had with prospect customers and companies in general about B2B e-commerce. So yeah, and we just elaborate a little bit on per year what were let's say major milestones or things we were noticing. And in 2017, so it's quite a while ago already, but most businesses, at least the very least, were aware of the growing impact of e-commerce, of B2B e-commerce. They started to see that around them. Maybe competition was already doing that. But offline channels were still in the lead, I think, very much with many organizations. However, you saw that some of the companies or prospects that entered our door at Sana Commerce, they had already launched the web store, but for B2B, not really working. But there was also a new thing that all those existing stores were so ugly, the user experience was terrible. There were old technologies being used. There was no focus on mobile commerce at all, or at least in B2B that was really upcoming. And we made that shift. We heavily invested back in the days and at that period of time to add the mobile app and at responsive design and stuff. But there was a very big need from the prospects then and the customers. So that's also in that year that we delivered that. The first steps on online personalization on the level in B2B that we are doing nowadays was also there. So if we make a small jump, or let's see, to 2018, what was there then more important, or what were the biggest two things or a couple of things? So online channels became getting a higher priority than the offline counterparts. Every year we see these steps very clearly. It goes with maybe 10-20%. So it was getting more important, but still the offline counterparts were the bigger part for the companies that we are seeing. This whole topic about millennial buyers was a trend, was a topic back in 2018. We heard more and more prospects and customers talking about it, meaning that the people that were doing the business or ordering for these B2B companies or at these B2B e-commerce sites, they were getting younger simply, and there was really this change going on, and that you then as a company need to change to adopt new technology to make that happen, right? And more maturing was in B2B was also something we were clearly seeing. In B2C it was already there, but more focus on conversion ratios, CRO, search engine optimization. These things were, at least in our customer base, really something that we saw as a trend. So 1 year later, 2019, 1 year before I think COVID hit us, which is a very important milestone, of course. But in 2019, we saw this whole omni-channel thing from retail also passing on to B2B, which means that these multiple channels needs to start or working together, or at least the customers and prospects at Sana said, yeah, it would be benefit if they can work seamlessly together. Yeah, our product was actually set up for that. It was designed like that, by making ERP and e-commerce work as one. If you had a point of sale in your store connected to the ERP, that will work also fine. But we worked a lot with customers to make these omni-channel experiences. And maybe the short story here is, and it's also actually in the podcast, but with Jouke, he was back in the days a product owner or e-commerce manager for our customers AXO, and he explained in the podcast episode how important it was to actually blend this online and offline world. AXO is having a B2B store where painters can buy their supplies for their next job, and it's a perfect combination, I would say, from the decorator centers, the stores that they have, and the online channel that is blending into each other. So definitely worth if you're interested to watch back that episode. We saw the need that these processes like order managers needs to become more automated. Customers that came, second generation customers that came to us that had tried B2B e-commerce before, they said, we had a lot of manual processes still going on. So we worked on that and we delivered a better approach there. But it was definitely a topic back in the days. And also there was funny that a lot of new these gimmicks like voice search and virtual systems was tried out by some of our customers. We made some integrations there with add-ons. I would say it's not really adopted yet. I think on the phone it works well with Google and so on, or Amazon if you have such home assistants. But for e-commerce, I think it didn't really took off or not at all. I think barcode scanning, that's another thing that does it really well on B2B, at least at our customer base. But these things we tried, but not really adopted, I would say, as big as other things. And last but not least, also B2B marketplace adoptions, or customers starting to talk about that. So, and it was also the year that we had the first headless commerce requests or implementations. So that was early 2019. And although that is also not the majority we are doing, honestly speaking, some of the bigger customers were trying parts of it. And still, it's not the biggest part that we are doing headless implementations, but we support it. And if customers or partners have their own development teams and they want to use our APIs, then we have it. And our architecture is actually created for that and optimized for that. And we are doing that ourselves. We are eating our own dog food or drinking our own champagne, right? Yeah. You're originally from France. Exactly. That's a better one to it. So we're drinking our own champagne. And by developing a separate app, I think a headless front end on the core that we are supplying. So that was an overview, right? Yeah,
right. A lot happened. And then everything changed, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
2020, with the coronavirus pandemic in full swing, trends went literally down the drain as priorities shifted from B2B and B2C businesses. What was the effect for B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, so I clearly remember the day that we sat together as a company and it started and actually directly we saw a couple of things happening. So there were companies that were reaching out to us very quickly and say, we need to go online now because our business is otherwise hurted. Some companies shifted their business completely because they could not do, or they we had a story, for example, from a customer that changed their normal production lines to start creating sanitizers and all that stuff, right? So to supply for fighting COVID or prevent, helping to solve that for the world. So we saw a lot of these business shifts. But we surveyed them back in the days, also B2B buyers, and 75% of them said, yeah, no, online purchasing is now the thing. And remote interactions are more important than the in-person sales interactions. So it's like a complete shift. Also the personalization features that we were having in the product already for a while. We were seeing that they were being used more and more, because, and I kind of understand that you just want to use more from the platform if you have the urge, right? That then there was this need to do more. So we saw that clearly. So that was nice adoption. And at some point in time, then in 2021, when we were, I think, little less than a year in COVID, many businesses understood that an e-commerce platform is unavoidable, right? So and they started planning and implementing if they didn't have it yet. So that is what we saw clearly. And besides of that, also even more mobile support was something customers were requesting. So really the shift from responsive designs to progressive web apps or single page applications was also something we adopted and we delivered based on that feedback, and was being used more. And I think this was also the year that because B2B is always a bit lacking B2C, but this was also the year that we saw a clear difference in more mobile usage for the B2B buyers than desktop. Maybe that was also the case because they could not go to the office anymore where they had a desktop, or they were just sitting on the couch and between everything to just do their business still. So that was a very big moment. And API-driven e-commerce or using APIs just to interact between systems is just another need to automate stuff. That was also we saw more and more from customers. So a lot of these things happened shortly after each other.
Yeah, and we have really amazing stories from these COVID years, as we call them, where we see customers saying that really e-commerce saved their businesses, where their sales could still work from home because all the information was in the e-commerce platform available to them, could still sell. And I also remember one story about one of our Latin American customers. Actually, their warehouse was laying empty, and they just used it for a vaccination center.
Oh, wow.
We had
nice story.
Really nice stories also. But now, well, hopefully we are out
of
this.
Yes, let's be positive. Yes.
Right? So let's look back at 2022. A constant state of flux is the new normal for B2B organizations, and relationships are defining the way B2B companies now do business. They are more important than ever. What are your observations so far, looking back at 2020?
Yeah, so one thing which is clear for me in 2022 is looking at the statistics from our customers on average, is that we saw this shift that for many of them, they are doing more business through the digital channel than the offline channel, and which means actually that the online channel is now more important than the offline channel, and that is quite impactful, I would say. It is the first moment also that within an organization, the digital teams is getting a louder voice and needs to scale, needs to optimize, and is and that is what we see all around. So to reflect a little bit back in 3-4 years ago, then we still had customers say, yeah, we will try 20% and then we will see 30% maybe if we are lucky. Now it's the other way around. Say, yeah, we had the B2B e-commerce awards lately, right? And if you read these cases, I'm always getting very excited. I know this story. I think it was from Vera Bradley, one of the customers from the US. So big percentage, I think between 60 or 80% of their e-commerce is now digital. So that's the majority for their retailers to supply their stores. So without any issues, that's even the cool thing. So that is, of course, less prone to error is one of the things that we are trying to achieve for our customers. So no emails from whatsoever on from failed orders or whatsoever. So that's an amazing story. But that clearly indicates to me that the there is this big difference. And also organizations then change. They need to reinvent how to do business in a new way, and that's online. So yeah, you see a lot of these reorganizations, people moving from let's say a sales team maybe to a digital team to help out, etc., etc. So yeah, that's interesting. And the other thing is that the platforms, at least we are supplying for our customers, we see also a broader spectrum. We maybe it's also that the product is evolving in that area, but it is also neat in that sense that if they are anyway online, it's not only about placing the transaction or looking up the catalog or look up inventory and all that stuff. It's also about doing more things. So yeah, of course, reordering products, but also do RMA. Yeah, we have blog functionality now, so there's also a lot about education and reading. So much more is happening than just the transaction.
Okay, that brings us to the trends of 2023 and beyond. So, what's the first trend that you want to touch upon today?
Yeah, now it's always getting tricky because you need to look in the future, right? So before I was just looking back on the data and reflecting on the other pieces we have shared before. But yeah, one trend that is already there for many years is that B2B companies need to continue to move online. That's happening. It is what I just said. The majority, at least of the Sana customers that are already doing business for quite some years, are having now more revenue digital than offline. So if you do not have that yet, then yeah, it should already be 3 alarm bells that you need to start adopting that. So yeah, in general, I do not have to repeat myself, but it's not only us, but also all the other investigations. We did lately in the beginning of this year, a research with Sapio, and we just review or ask questions to companies, and they were not even Sana customers, but general companies in our industry that we are targeting. And companies on average spend around 3 million online every year. So, and that's for B2B purchases, and that is, from all ranges, small, medium-sized companies to at least from the set that we were targeting, and that was, let's say 2/3 of their totals spends, I think, for supplies and so on, office supplies and all that stuff. So that was interesting. But there is another important thing from the report is that when we ask, okay, but are you happy with these B2B, let's say, e-commerce sites that you're using or you're actually giving to your B2B or business consumers, then they say no. So let's say 94%, and that's, I think, a really big group, are frustrated by the functionality or the things that they're having while doing B2B e-commerce purchases. And yesterday was also a funny story. I had another podcast recording, and it was with an agency, and they say also, there are a lot of prospects there. They are our customers they are serving, and they're coming to them and say, we just want a beautiful site for B2B, but they totally forgot the back office processes or the back end of the things. And just to repeat, it is so important to have that in place as well. Of course, a good ERP with data and processes there is one, but even if you do not have that, single sources of truth for product, for stock, for pricing is very important for B2B success. You cannot only have a beautiful looking site if it doesn't functionally work in all the backend processes. It needs to really work together. You need to have both. So that is important learning. So that is that seamless customer experience. That is what we are trying to evangelize every time.
Yeah, no, well, as you said, it has to look good, but it cannot be the only thing it does. So B2B companies have finally made the final step. But does that mean that the early adopters from back in 2017 and before are already looking at two other aspects?
Yes, of course. So especially customers that are already a little bit longer in doing B2B e-commerce, they are always evolving and trying new stuff. And one big trend which is there out in the market that I want to talk about is sustainability or cloud sustainability in e-commerce. So a couple of things here. So what is actually cloud sustainability, or is it maybe a trend or a thing that is also mentioned in the Gartner hype cycle, for example, of emerging tech. So for me, it means two things. So one, in general, cloud solutions or SaaS solutions like Sana, that's anyway in the cloud, the transition towards these kind of applications is more sustainable for the world. It needs less servers, less power, more efficient. That is just because the way how it is designed. You most of the time have shared resources with a big bunch of customers. Same story with Sana. Our flagship product, Sana Commerce Cloud, our latest product, is running on the cloud. It's like shared environment for everybody, and by having it shared, it is less for all, which is, I would say, more sustainable. But there is more. It is also about how companies are practically using that, and there are two stories there to tell as well. So I think you can make a big impact while transitioning from offline sales to online. Where offline sales, you can still have sales agents that are in the car visiting these customers just for filing in these orders, or even worse, if they need to fly out to customers, right? I think that's even worse. So if you can transform that in actually the customers, the B2B buyers doing this yourself, you can skip all those flights and all those car trips, right? And more importantly, you can have a better life for your B2B buyer and a better life for these salespeople that can then explore new markets or be a better partner in giving better advice. So that's one sample, and I think a company that is doing great here is Holu, from which I interviewed, and that they transformed their whole sales department from just order takers to more, I would say, sustainable partners, and that can help customers with advice on a larger scale. And the other thing is we can guide our B2B buyers into a way that we ship, for example, less. So we can, you as a company can, for example, if you have different routes or routes to ship the goods, right? Maybe 2 times in the week. That is your one shipping method, and the other one is maybe just separate packages with the postal services or something. You can still advise to go with this bi-weekly route, for example, because then you can combine all the packages for all the customers. So you can maybe share content, and that's also what we see with the customers saying, hey, please pick this shipping method because it will be more eco-friendly. And companies can also file that, or they need to anyway nowadays, at least in the European, register their carbon emission, or there's a regulation around that. And you can hit your targets by doing these things more efficiently. And I think you will save cost automatically as well. And last point here is also about this carbon emissions or the registration of it. Vendors like Sana, we need to supply also what footprint is our store, or is a store generating for the world. So we have that. That is some of the features or functionality we are adding to the platform, so that our customers can check this and can see what their environmental cost is, and that they can add that to these emission reports that they anyway need to have because of regulations. So interesting trend, but we want to make it in the end of the day a better world, right, for everybody. So I think every industry needs to think how we can help, and I think this is at least one part we can do from an e-commerce perspective.
Yeah, and I think also if your e-commerce is working well and you can reduce the number of order errors and return orders, of course, that's also part of your sustainability plans and can make a real impact. So let's go sustainability. That was trend number 2. Let's go into the next one.
Yeah, so the third one is unified commerce. So this, I would say, a step further than omnichannels. And why? So because the latest research we did on B2B buys is that At 94% of these professional buyers were experiencing issues with purchasing things online. And practically a solution for this is with unified commerce is to connect your backend systems to the platforms that your customers are frequently using or viewing. And that can be in online or offline worlds. But yeah, as I just shared, online is more and more the majority. So that can be a solution, and it is important to really align these channels and have, for example, pricing information, stock information, all exactly the same. No mistakes there. But also think about things like invoices or just information about the customer. Try to store that in single sources of truth or systems of records that you can reuse over all those different channels. Otherwise, you will never get that experience. And we are seeing customers adopting that more and more. Yeah, Axel was one of the front runners, I would say, back in the days. But yeah, now with COVID being maybe settled down, at least although the orders are processed online, it doesn't mean that customers are not in your store anymore. I see a lot of these hybrid scenarios that the orders actually being placed on a phone actually in the store. I experienced it lately myself as well when buying some construction materials. So it all blends together, and that's that unified commerce, I would say. So all the different shipping methods that are in this blend, like pickup on such a location, is all what's expected nowadays. And yeah, we see more and more customers adopting that, and we expect more adoption the coming year.
So we went from multi-channel to omni-channel to unified e-commerce. But how do online payments play now a role in B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, and that is actually also the fourth trend, is that online payment or payment in B2B was I think 3 or 4 years ago was just on account always. So, but that's quite limited, I would say. So the problem with on account is that you need to verify your customer first before you let them pay or buy on account. You want to do some credit check, because if you are shipping and you're invoicing but you do not get the money, then you have a problem. But with the need and the urge also to further evolve these stores and roll out in other countries, there is this also this need to do B2B online payments. Why? Because then you're guaranteed that you will get your money. Difficulty, however, is that a B2B order is most of the time very different from a B2C order. It can be larger in amount. There can be authentication or authorization around it. So you can order something, but somebody else needs to approve it. So that makes it complex. And but the need to have it is rising and rising. And that's also why we actually this year in 2022 launched Sana Pay. That's the B2B payment provider, so optimized for B2B payments. How? Yeah, for example, by having this authorization in place with pay by link, so that you can send the payment link to your manager or to your boss, and that he or she can pay. But also for larger amounts, that you have the ability to do multi-card payments, so that you can combine multiple cards or multiple payment methods, as well as bank transfers or things to make sure that you can handle the large amounts as well. And to make it even easier, a lot of the B2B companies, once again, B2B is always a little bit behind B2C, so they are scared to go into this area. So also the onboarding or helping customers to onboard to take online payments. There's some administration needed for that. You need to fill in some forms. That is also what we solve at Sana Pay, so that we are guiding our customers to make sure that they have a very smooth ride and that they can start accepting payments. And that's growing rapidly. We are every month we are adding a lot of new Sana Pay customers, and we expect in 2023 to do even more, because the need is there for sure. So that's about payment, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that B2B buyers are the same who buy on B2C, and so
True.
They expect the same payment experience these days. We discussed it. The world has changed due to the pandemic. That led to supply chain issues. The war in Eastern Europe had big human impact. and we are heading into economical recession and energy crisis. We cannot deny this that will impact us. What will be the impact for B2B companies?
Yeah, so a lot of people are talking about it, and we are seeing it as well. Of talking with customers and prospectors, but manufacturers, distributors, and wholesalers are expecting economic slowdown or already feeling it. And the impact can be different. Some are still going very strong, but some will have to brace for impact or include loss in revenues. Maybe some purchases will go bankrupt, so you're losing customers. Maybe they want to take fewer risks, so do not purchase a lot at one time or spend less in general. But a couple of things you can do to withstand this or to prepare yourself for this. So what you can do is, of course, if you have already a nice B2B e-commerce store running, is to maximize the tool that you are using and in each investment. So really look at your closer look at your tech stack. Can you use more data and logic in system like your ERP to expose to the front end to make it even more efficient or easier to use, more convenient? And focus also on existing customers to make their lives better, because I think keeping these relations up is important in these times. Another thing that you can do if you have not fully adopted B2B e-commerce yet, or not even started, then it's a very good one. And we have a lot of data around to minimize your cost or to reduce cost. Minimize cost in terms of, in certain times anyway, no-brainer. So a couple of recommendations that you can do is, evaluating your tech stack. What is already there? Are you having multiple systems to do the same stuff? But also, can you automate tasks? There are so many B2B companies with B2B e-commerce sites, mainstream B2B e-commerce sites that are not so automated that you still need to manually press buttons to get data from one system to another, or even do it manually. And I think if you take it from another perspective, you can everything should be automated, right? Because then you're saving time, and that is a huge opportunity we still see at customers and that we are helping our customers with. Simple things, just like making sure the products are there, making sure the pricing is there, stock. You cannot imagine, but there are so many companies still struggling in, shifting data from one to another system and spending so much time, human time, to optimize that. There are also so many companies that are still filing in orders manually. Maybe they get them via an email, or maybe they are using an iPad with an app, but still filing in these orders manually. And that is, I would say, a waste of time, because your B2B buyers can do that perfectly for you. And more important, all those human interactions are also very prone to error. That is just a basic rule in IT. You want to avoid these kind of things. So make sure you automate, because and bringing we say make ERP and e-commerce work as one. So to become less prone to error, it will save you a huge amount of time. And that's also resonate from that Vera Bradley story that they said we had no order errors. Or also another company from Italy, Univergama, that was also in the B2B. They are doing millions per month, hundreds of millions per month in revenue to their stores, and they say without any order error. Can you imagine? That is crazy. But that is these are the real stories we are seeing with our customers, and that saves them so much time on their service desks, on their sales teams, etc. So that's about cost. And also I talked about make sure you work with your loyal customers, improving their relationships and so on. Focus on these loyal customers. You can use we have tools like SanaCommerce Insights that you can really see which customers are doing really well. So maybe you can give them a little bit better attention with more promotions or whatsoever. So that is also something you can do. Anyway, brace for impact and use technology to overcome these challenges.
Yeah. Almost ending this podcast, right?
Yeah. So we're almost ending this podcast. So but before doing that, I want to summarize that we identify the urge for B2B e-commerce, sustainability, unified commerce, and smooth online payment experiences as the most important trends for the upcoming year. At least what we're seeing from our customer base, and a little bit extrapolating from there. And with the focus on maximizing your current investments, minimizing the cost risk, and lean on your loyal customers. You come better out of the probably a coming recession. So, yeah.
Yeah, good luck. And I also like to add that we are applying these recommendations ourselves, drinking our own champagne, as you said, especially when it comes to investing more in our existing customers. And that's why we have launched a new program called the Sana Success Track to help our customers achieve their e-commerce goals in these uncertain times. And because we know that now more than ever, it's important for you to maximize your investment with Sana while minimizing your cost and delivering the best experiences to your customers. So you can learn more about it on our website. And thank you for listening.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this special episode of the B2B e-commerce integrated podcast. Thank you, Emilie.
Thank you, Arno.
Bye-bye.